about 1 minute. So anyone else that wants to come and join us behind us, please do.
It's on Martin Luther King Day and ends on Tax Day, April 15th. And it is an effort of a coalition of peace and justice and social activist groups here in the state of Maine, throughout the state. I see many representatives of many of the groups here today standing behind me. And as you can see, we are calling for cuts in war spending as a way to help Maine state government deal with their fiscal crisis. As we all know, the news has been full of budget cuts, draconian cuts, essential service cuts. How are we going to fund basic human needs here in the state of Maine? We feel that if it were not for the money that has been spent to wage war in Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and to maintain hundreds, nearly 1,000 military bases around the world, that the states like Maine would not be in the fiscal crisis that they're in. And we feel that it's very important to connect those dots and to talk about the elephant in the room of out-of-control military spending that is gutting the basic services that people need to even stay alive, stay healthy, be educated. We do have a website. It's bringourwardollars.home.org. The word dollars is spelled out. There's lots of good information on there to help people join us on this campaign. One of the actions we're engaged in is to bring warrants to all of our local town meetings. Most of the towns in Maine hold their annual meeting early in March, and the deadline for getting a warrant on would be coming up soon. We do have a template with language that has been used successfully in towns in Maine, calling on towns to issue a resolution asking that our elected representatives, particularly Representative Mike Michaud and Representative Shelley Pingree, stop funding wars that the American people cannot afford and that are not helping us be able to meet the needs here at home.
On any given night this month, there will be literally hundreds of people here in Maine sleeping in homeless shelters or on the streets. That's not good for Homeland Security. Lack of capacity forced the Maine community college system to turn away 4,000 students this fall, many of them dislocated workers. That's not good Homeland Security.
3.5 years ago, I stood in the State House with a dozen other legislators, and we said we needed to bring an end to the war in Iraq because the state of Maine could not possibly sustain its commitments to education, health care, and building roads while we were spending almost $1 trillion on a war in Iraq. If the current budget that's been proposed by the governor is in fact endorsed by the legislature, this year there will be a $38 million cut to K-12 education. There will be a $93 million cut next year, and a $16 million cut to our university system and our community college.
The line in which he said, and he's speaking about the Vietnamese, but I think it's true of the Afghanis as well, what strange liberators they must think these soldiers from the United States are as they bomb them and kill them. At the same time, Martin Luther King was urging us to shift our priorities, which we need to do so badly, to human needs, health care, education, food security, all those things that are now terribly endangered and may be gone if we pursue this endless war.
Studies have shown high rates of PTSD, domestic violence, and suicide in soldiers of the current wars. The costs associated with these problems, both medically and socially, are difficult to predict, but they will be borne at least in part by the civilian healthcare system. It is not reasonable to continue making cuts to services to the most vulnerable members of society while ignoring the massive spending and waste of the military budget.
I come to urge Maine state legislators to lobby our congressional delegation to reduce our nation's military budget and to transfer these funds to shore up our nation's social programs and to create jobs by building the alternative energy infrastructure necessary to survive the 21st century.
The vain hope that the course of empire will be reversed in Washington, D.C., or that change can come by winning one heart at a time. Our hope is in creating new and just communities where we live, with our friends and our neighbors. Let us hope that the state of Maine is still a small enough place that we can join hands of compassion, north and south, urban and rural, even Democrats and Republicans.
What I'm concerned about is the elephant in the room. I don't think that by continuing to cut important social services, cultural services, and educational services, that we're in a boat that we're going to be able to keep afloat much longer. I see that there are cuts to student financial aid, and we haven't even heard about all the education cuts yet. I'm here to beg you, to urge you to join with us here in the state of Maine in a campaign to bring pressure on our congressional delegation, particularly in the House of Representatives, whose proper role is to oversee expenditures, and stop wasting money on wars that are endless and unwinnable, and start bringing that money back into our state to fund important programs such as we're hearing about today.
We've spent nearly $1 trillion so far on these endless wars that are costing us $10 to $12 billion each month. $10 to $12 billion every month. What I hear happening in this state and across the country, 40 states are now, like Maine, in fiscal crisis, is an end to social progress. Declining infrastructure, whether we're talking roads or bridges or sewer systems or water systems, literally the falling apart of America.
All the talk about health care, where are we going to get the money, and it's just ridiculous. It's never mentioned. It's never mentioned. The military budget is never mentioned. Our towns combined every year contribute over $4 million to these pointless wars in Afghanistan.
It is time for you, the elected officials, to not only be involved in making your budgets work, but to make this country work, and that will require not only each of us citizens to speak out, but each of you elected officials. You have taken an oath to defend the Constitution against the enemies, both domestic and foreign, and also to uphold the Constitution of the United States as well as the Constitution of Maine. Do that by speaking out against these illegal actions, by urging our federal representatives in Congress to stop funding these wars.
I think we can see where these solutions lie. Before we conclude today, I just want to thank everyone, so many of you behind me, thank everyone for coming out today.